Yo, check it out, we rapping for the Texas. Little bit in Crenshaw Bridge, reflexing. Houston rap style, we bringing the heat. Talking Texas football, nothing compete. Got the best podcast, the loudest in the game. Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Remember the name, we talking draft picks. We talking defense, we break it all down. No nonsense. H-Town with the Run Showdown on the mic, talking Texas football every Wednesday night with special guests dropping knowledge, taking the stage. Digging in Crenshaw Briggs, be holding it down in the H-Town, wiping it down, talking touchdowns in H-Town. Houston culture, we holding it down, talking news and rumors, keeping it real. No filter, we got the Texas appeal. In the Lone Star City, we're living it up. Talking all things Texas, we can't get enough. From the football field to the concrete jungle, we're repping H-Town. Ain't nothing humble, bitch.
Yo, and welcome back to another episode of the Texans Fan Battle Podcast. I'm your host tonight, Matthew Briggs. Guys, we got a special guest. But before I introduce him, let me introduce the two of our fantastic four. First off, I got Mr. Bo Diggy himself. What's going on, brother?
Hey, what's happening, y'all? What's up?
And always spreading the good word, we got Mr. Kenneth the Messenger. How you doing, man?
Doing pretty good, man. What's up, y'all? How you doing, Cole?
What's up? How we doing, guys?
And our special guest, fellas, we got Cole Thompson from the Texas Wire. Man, thanks for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Guys, I'm excited. You know, I've been listening to your podcast. Here's the thing. Any person that has a great opening, immediately I'm turned on to. That is one of the best openings I have seen for a podcast, regardless of location. I don't care. You could be The Athletic. You could be Yahoo Sports. You guys got something going. I'm excited. I'm excited to be on with you guys tonight.
Well, we appreciate that. We put a lot of hard work into it. So, you know, gotta get the best for the best team in football, right? So, you know, start somewhere. Well, let's get why we're here. Let's talk to the Texans. A lot of people are talking about how we killed this offseason. Before I ask the other fellows, Cole, what would you rank this offseason as a whole for the Houston Texans?
I give it an A-. Here's the main thing. When you trade back 23 spots and then you go and you use that pick to go bring in Stephon Diggs, it's a good move. It's a solid move at the time. Because if you feel like at this moment, you're going all in with CJ Stroud on a rookie contract. And a lot of good teams over the last few years have done this. I mean, when you look at Los Angeles, they kind of did something very similar to this back in 2022 when they went heavily defensively, getting Khalil Mack, extending Joey Bosa. And they did these things because they wanted to build around Justin Herbert before they had to pay him. But then it got knocked down a grade when you go and you trade a 2025 second-round pick for a team that is probably going to be going through a little bit of a rebuild, maybe not top 10, but certainly in that top 15 range to where that would have been decent draft compensation to void the last 3 years of a contract on a player that was already signed to a long-term deal. It's not bad because if, yes, you look at what you brought in with Stephon Diggs and you see the consistent drop-off last season after about week 6 when they switched offensive coordinators, there's reason for speculation, but why make that deal if there's other wide receivers that you were in the market for? And also then why go ahead and be willing to trade that if you know that there's going to be opportunities to where maybe you take on a little bit more of that dead cap money. And then if you want to cut him, it at least gives you that second round pick going into next year. So the Danielle Hunter edition was fantastic. It was great value. You know, there was a lot of reports that I was hearing that he wanted to come here. It was a big deal for him to get back into Houston. I actually very much like the Joe Mixon trade. I don't like the extra 2 years onto the contract. I would get a 1 year extension just because of running backs. They're a dime a dozen. And that's not an insult to Mixon because of he does offer an extensive value when it comes to the pass catching game as well. But you are also hoping that you're getting the version of him that was in Cincinnati, not the version that could be coming to Houston. It's an overall good balanced roster. I love the addition of Kamari Lassiter. You know, if you talk to anybody that works in draft circles, they'll tell you that basically there were two players that fit DeMeco Ryans' defense better than most. It was Mike Sainristil from Michigan, and I If you read my Twitter feed, I mean, I basically was calling for him to come to Houston, and I would have immediately thrown off the journalism hat. I would have thrown on the fandom and been like, exactly, give me that guy at number 0. But then you also have Kamari Laster. And Laster is a plug-and-play addition to where if you want him on the boundary, that's great. If you start him in the nickel because you have a lot of high hopes for Okudah, you have a lot of high hopes for potentially maybe CJ Henderson, which, again, that's another toss-up. But regardless, you have opportunities to be able to expand your roster. I don't mind the Blake Fisher edition. I think it's a really good, solid move 2 years from now. Maybe not this year specifically, but sometimes you got to be building past this season. Kalen Bullock, in a coverage standpoint, is great. Jarwar Jordan is going to be, I think, a really nice addition on special teams. And then I love Marcus Harris. I had him as a 5th-round pick. And the fact that you got him in round 7 with your second to last pick it's pretty phenomenal. And I think that he's going to be a really quality addition. Same with Findelius Payne, the Virginia Tech defensive tackle. So it's an A-. That Stephon Diggs deal is going to do a little bit for me to where it's hard for me to get past it.
Okay. Now, Bo, since same question to you, now that the dust is settled, what you got?
Oh yeah, I agree. A-. We spoke about it back when free agency first opened up that Nick Cassera didn't jump out the window completely. Like everybody said, Saquon Barkley or go get forgot who the other name were, but they said even try to get Derrick Henry. It was like no, he sat and waited. He got Joe Mixon. Everybody was like, oh really? That was left field because no one really thought or heard the Joe Mixon. Roquan Smith. That was another name that they said go get Roquan Smith and put all the money over there and Nick, stay pat, and he does his thing where he waits till day 2, to really make his moves. He's very level-headed in that way. So I give it an A- in a point to where, just like Cole said, like it shows that you're ready to win. It shows that you see that, well, that, as they say in the NFL, you have to try to win before your rookie get paid. Before the rookie quarterback gets paid, you need to try everything in your power to get the players there and try to win Super Bowl in that window. So I feel like that they're doing that. I feel like it's nice to see the Texans actually go make moves and not be stale in a free agency and actually take time and pick players that you need in the draft instead of paying players that are sexy picks. You go get for the players that are going to complete your team. And so like the Lassiter pick, everybody was like, oh wow, why Lassiter? We need defensive tackle. But it makes sense. Just like Cole said, it makes sense. You put him in the nickel. He's physical. He's going to go up there. He's going to make plays. So I give it an A- around the whole grand scheme of things. So I think they did very good in my eyes.
All right. Kenneth, what about you, brother?
I give it an A. One thing for sure, like I think it might be a little bias in there with me when it comes to giving them an A. But one thing for sure to start off with it, man, I don't think I've ever been this excited for the season. And I feel like Nick Caserio said, even though Nick been cooking, like honestly, we be real, Nick been cooking before this year, like even the last offseason and so on and so on. But it's like this year was like, all right, look, I got to do what I need to do. Like Bo said, like we in that window, like we got our quarterback, we got our young quarterback. He's on a rookie deal. So we need to do to build this team, get weapons, you know what I'm saying, get the D-line stacked up, you know what I'm saying, with the D tackles and defensive ends we got. They stacked it up and they were like, hey, we need to do what we need to do so we can go get the Super Bowl. We got KC, we got Ravens, we got all these power houses, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to other teams, and we need to do what we need to do to win now. We have a tough, that's another thing, we have a tough season coming up, you know what I'm saying, as far as the competitions we facing. So they knew like, hey, we need to beef up this team. We can't just go with what we did last year. We got to beef it up. So that's one thing for sure that makes me so excited, and I give it an A because I love the trade. Stephon Diggs trade, because it's crazy. Literally the day before it happened, I sent it in this group chat, and I said, and I responded to somebody about Nico because they was talking about Nico and showing his numbers on one-on-one coverage, man-on-man coverage. And I was like, man, I've seen enough. And I understand everybody. I know that we have Tank Dell. But the reason I said this in the group chat to this dude, I was like, man, I've seen enough. Let's go get Stephon Diggs. And little do you know, the next day they traded for him. I was so excited. And it's because, like, we need more weapons. Like, we never know who's going to go down. You just never know. And so I see what Nick is doing by trading for him. And not only that, they traded for another receiver. Not saying this receiver just a big time receiver, but he does a lot of things well. He blocks well. He can catch. I can't think of his name right now, but
Ben Skowronek.
yeah. So they
Mhm.
stacking up. You know what I'm saying? These weapons, and then traded for Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon, of course, that trade happened first. Like I was very excited for that. I know a lot of people was kind of questionable on them instead of him. I really feel like Joe got a lot in the tank. That's just my personal opinion. I feel like he got a lot in the tank. He's a dog, and he got that chip on his shoulder. And one thing for sure, it's another player that's been to the Super Bowl. He didn't win it, but he's been. So he understands what it takes to get there. And honestly, he's definitely going to take a lot of pressure off of CJ, I believe. So, and also the Daniel Hunter signing, I love that. You know what I'm saying? We lost Jonathan Grenard. I wasn't really tripping on that, but when they made that signing with Daniel Hunter, man, that also made me so excited. So I give it an A.
Before I give mine, we got a super chat from Drake Wally. He said, "Hey dudes, Colts writer for SI. Curious thoughts on your how Diggs impacts Nico's target share. I think Nico will be wide receiver 1, Diggs 2, Tank 3. Before I get to you, I think you really don't have a number 1, right? Like
Yeah.
when you have a 3-headed monster like that,
Mm-hmm.
it's whoever has a hot hand, right? Like
Yeah.
who's going to
Yeah.
get double team? Who's going to get pressured? Cole, am I wrong?
No, I think the other part that's kind of getting lost here is that you also bring back Dalton Schultz on the extension and what he
Absolutely.
provided across the middle. And then you also have Joe Mixon that last year had a career high in targets, receptions, receiving yards, yards after contact, and touchdowns. So it's 5 different weapons that you can target at any given moment. The part that's going to be really interesting is that target share per game. And then I know that Kenneth brought up talking about the run game. It's definitely going to take some pressure off of CJ, and that's a blessing. But at the same time, the part that's going to be really interesting is what happens when it comes to contract negotiations. And that was part of the reason why I could completely understand why maybe they brought in Stephon Diggs, because of not only did you want to void the years of the contract, but what you also did was you made sure that there was a conversation to where maybe you were going to be able to get Nico at a lesser price, depending on if there's so much target shares to where people want to come back. Because Tank still got 3 more years on the deal. You locked up Stephon Diggs long-term. You locked up Joe long-term past this year. So you got 3 more years on the contract because he was going into a contract year. So you feel really good about the target shares. That's a good point, but it's also like, it's one of those things where you talk about just this offense in general. Any given week, you could see 12 targets going to Stephon Diggs. The next week, he gets 2. And then the week afterwards, you see 5 targets go to Stephon Diggs, 5 targets go to Nico, 8 targets go to Tank, and 7 targets go to Dalton, and 3 go to Joe. But like that's the part about this offense that's so unique, and it's going to be really interesting. Yeah. Dalton was talking to us not too long ago about Bobby Slowick's offense and what he's been saying. They're kind of not dumbing down is the right word, but what they're doing is they're simplifying the calls, and it feels a lot more confident. And the fact that you're able to get Tank involved, and you're able to get Joe Mixon involved, and they're all on the same page, that's a good understanding leading out of voluntary OTAs and getting into mandatory minicamp next month. And when everyone's on the same page, that's a huge advantage for any young quarterback.
And
I agree. I'm sorry, man. I was going to say also with Bobby Slowick offense, it comes from the San Francisco 49ers offense. So,
yeah,
any given moment, go to Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Debo. So it's like they spread the wealth in that offense. So it's like Cole said, it can go to anybody. Have a great day.
And I appreciate you saying George Kittle. We forget to mention too, we got a guy that's been comped to him quite a bit, and that's Cade Stover. A lot of people see him becoming George Kittle. He's only played tight end 2 years. He played defensive end the rest of his college year. And then also, guys, we got Noah Brown, Robert Woods fighting for the fourth receiver. Like when these guys need breaks, these guys can come in. That's John Metsy can have a breakout year this year. Like weapons are great right now.
They're balanced, very balanced right now.
Yeah. As a Texans fan, I never thought I would say those words. The weapons are great this year.
It's baffling to me because if we talk about a guy like John Mechie that was supposed to be this slot receiver coming on in, he unfortunately goes through the cancer diagnosis, which, by the way, just congratulations to him being able to get past this and getting back on a football field. That's an impressive feat in itself. And if anything, that's what we hold on to in terms of just covering the story and what he's provided. But
Absolutely.
it's just knowing that you have Noah Brown as your wide receiver 5. Robert Woods right now is still on the team. Xavier Hutchinson, I mean, he was, when he played at Iowa State, every single week, he was a terrorizing machine for the Cyclones. And so imagine if he gets involved. And now you're going into the conversation with Steven Sims as a return man. There's so much versatility with this offense that you basically, if you're Bobby Slowick, when you were deciding what came into deciding on coming back, you knew that there was going to be an opportunity for you to have that much more diversity in your offense, which is going to make you that much more accomplished, I think.
Absolutely. Like I said, I'm just appreciative of them putting on, like we said, CJ Stroud's a rookie year. This is the time to go all in. So going back to the grading, I will say I give it A. I'm with the board, Keno. Like I'm with A minus, right? Either one doesn't hurt, but I go with A just because to me what tipped the scale was 3 moves, and the draft was getting Blake Fisher because you never know what's going to happen with Titus Howard, and not even Titus Howard, Laramie Tunzel. I mean, they both their injury, history is not the best, and let's be honest, Titus Howard's performance is not consistent. So we got to weigh the options. Hey, Blake Fisher, let's put him out there. And to me, Bobby and D'Amico is not thinking of plan A. They're thinking of plan A, B, C, and D. And that Blake Fisher move solidifies it. And then move 2, bring his Alice. I'm gonna murder his last name.
Al-Shaair?
Yeah, Sair.
Yeah.
The dude knows D'Amico. Like he was a pro in D'Amico's defense. They know each other. He can help the young guys in Harris. Tua. Like he can help grow these linebackers. And then another eyes and ears for D'Amico on the sideline. It's great. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And then again, like I just mentioned, Cade Stover. Everybody's worried about his blocking. Dude, again, second year as a tight end. Everybody at OTAs is screaming this guy's praises. Like his hand, he's already working on it. They call him the Farmer Gronk. I think, like I said, I think he's gonna be a better Kittle. But yeah, to me, those moves scream A. It just tips the scale. We're heading for one thing.
What you can appreciate, I think, more than anything else when it comes to Al-Shaair is the way they were talking about him. So we met with him on Tuesday this past week, and he was saying that last season they had brought up on multiple occasions players from the Texans whenever they played the Titans, talking about his game, talking about what he brought, and he felt very comfortable with this team and what they were all about because of a lot of the film that was being shown at the early stages of the Texans when they were implementing this new defense was Al-Shaair playing that linebacker spot. So there was a lot of respect from Jalen Petrie. There was a lot of respect from Jimmy Ward. You heard Will Anderson talk to him. So there's a familiarity in terms of relationships to where you walk into a building and you just so automatically feel comfortable, which makes you, I think, become more relaxed in your role. And it is an expanded role because if he was a sub linebacker when he was playing with D'Amico back in San Francisco, because you had Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, Stover, I mean, guys, I'm gonna stop you when it comes to the George Kittle content. And the only reason why is because that's a special name. That's a one in a one dude. I see a lot more better version of Jake Ferguson that took over for what you had in Dallas with Dalton Schultz. And I see a little bit of Dalton Schultz in him. I think that when you get a guy that is going to be maybe a little bit more well-rounded as a blocker, because AJ brought this up, there's a lot of positivity with him as a defensive-minded player that's turning over to the offensive side, but there's also the consistency factor. The one thing that I think you can appreciate about D'Amico and Nick is they're trying to do everything to make CJ Stroud comfortable. And when you get a weapon, whether it be an Emeka Ibuka next season, whether it be Cade Stover this season, the fact that you're getting guys that he already has a familiarity with, that they can expand on at the next level, that's going to do great things, not just for CJ, but that's going to do wonders for Cade Stover as well, because he already knows what the quarterback is like. Now he's just got to get up to speed with him. So, I mean, I agree with AJ with the move. It's a good move. I can't do the George Kittle comp. That's the only thing. That's the one thing I just can't get behind right now.
Well, I've seen a lot of it, and I kind of agree, just because everybody was bashing his blocking coming out of the college.
Yeah.
And he went 5th round too, I believe, right?
Fifth, he went 5th round. Stover went 4th. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, correct. So I can see the similarities, but you're right. I mean, Kittle is a beast. If we get like 25% of Kittle's production, I'm okay with it. So that's fine. I mean, and like you said, Jake Ferguson, I take that, and another Dalton Schultz I can block. I'll take that too. Guys, welcome Harley Dugan.
Yep, we got Harley in the building. Harley's in the building, everybody.
What's going on,
everybody?
Harley, what up, man?
Hey, what's going on, Cole?
We're talking the outlook, Harley.
Yeah.
What do you give this grade of the offseason now that the dust is settled?
Wow. I think I gave it a straight B. I'm trying to remember what my grades were. I think it was about a straight B. Overall, I think the excitement is there between Daniel Hunter and the Stephon Diggs moves. Danico Autry added in there, maybe not the splash name a lot of fans might know, but when you look at the stats and the highlights and everything and the scheme fit, yeah, that fits great for you. Overall, though, the Houston Texans, they've had a solid offseason. I mean, and there's not much to be upset about, and they've improved this team. They've taken, they suited up for what the schedule looks to be absolutely daunting, and Texans have suited up for it, man. I'm excited to see what's in store for the future of this team, and yeah, that's basically it. About a good beat.
Yeah,
I'll take that. I'll take that as well. Speaking of the schedule, last week we had Harley, Bo, and myself on, and we kind of gave them a 12-5 record. Cole, knowing that they have the 4th hardest schedule in the whole NFL, where do you see the Texans?
This is where, unfortunately, I'm going to lose a lot of people, and this is unfortunately where I'm going to have to bring people back down to reality. This is a great team. They're a very solid team. They are one of the more well-rounded teams in the NFL. They have great weaponry. They have a good offensive line when healthy. They have good defensive players. They have the 4th hardest schedule in the NFL, and there's a reason for that, because they had a 1st place schedule. And I'm not going to go into a detail and go long into this, because I know Chubby Bear would probably come at me. He's going to find a way to go scream at me on Twitter whenever I say this. It's not Jacksonville 2.0. It's not Jacksonville like last season, because they are, I think, a more well-rounded team on the offensive line. But you got to remember, when Jacksonville won the division, they won it with a 4th place schedule. They won it with a 4th place schedule. When Houston won the division, they won it with a 4th place schedule. There's going to be at least 2 or 3 games that you feel confident in that you're going to lose. There's going to be 1 or 2 games that you feel like you're probably going to lose, that you're going to play down to the wire, and you're coming away with the win. I think that they're a 10-7, 11-6 team. I do. And that's not an insult. Sometimes the biggest lie in sports, and this is where I always lose people, and I sometimes will go off the rails, and I don't really care. I hate the saying, you are what your record says you are. It's a load of crap. It is the biggest load of BS in the history of college football. It is the biggest load of crap in the history of the NFL, because not every schedule is built the same. When you have lesser talent, but then you go out and you spend money the way Tennessee did, if they end up going 10-7, are you going to say that their schedule is beneficial? Probably, because they have the 7th hardest schedule. But when you look at the Giants, who have the 31st ranked schedule, if they end up having, a run and they go 11-6, and the Texans go 11-6, are we really going to say that they're both 11-6 ranked teams? No, it's because the way that you go about it. So I could see Houston easily marching into Arrowhead Stadium and beating Patrick Mahomes in the regular season, only to 5 days later come home and get eviscerated by a Baltimore Ravens team. Like, it's just the way the schedule works. They can lose a game to Indianapolis in week 1. They could go on a 7-game tyrant. And then during the middle of the season, when they have Sunday night football, Monday night football, Thursday night football, all primetime, they go 2-1. Like, that's what could happen. Or they go 1-2. Like, that's the case with Houston. It's not to be disadvantaged. It's just the reality is when you have a schedule based like this, it is extremely hard to say that you're going to be a 12-5 team. You're going to be an 11-6 team. You're going to be a 13-4 team. Like, be happy that this team is competitive. They're going to be going up against the best of the best in the AFC. They're going to have a baseline of where they stand among the rest of the rosters, but they may lose some games in the process, and that's okay. You get to find out your flaws in that moment. And then when you do, you'll be more prepared and more established when it comes time for the postseason, even if you are 10-7.
Yeah, and I kind of said this last week too. If we go 10-7, it is kind of a fail because of what you did in the offseason, but it's a lot better than what you did last year because, like you said, the strength of your opponents is a lot harder. So the 10-7 this year is going to be different than the 10-7 last year.
Like Briggs, the way I can put it is like think of Florida football right now, and I don't mean to bring up college football, but like that's my other hobby that I love talking about. Florida has the schedule that not even college football Satan himself would come up with. Like it literally is simply, oh, I'm not even that sadistic. If they went 7-5 for most teams, that's 9-3, 10-2.
Right.
But Houston goes 10-7. That might be comparable to a 13-4 record when you look at the teams and strength of schedules. Like if Chicago goes 10-7 this year, that's kind of underwhelming when you look at what was added in. Where if Houston goes 10-7, they feel a lot more confident, and they probably lose a few games because of a few hiccups here and there. Maybe you make up for that when you get later on.
Right. Kenneth, you were here last week. So what's your prediction and thoughts on the schedule?
I'm gonna try to be real. I'm gonna put my real cap on. I'm gonna take the fan out. And I think they both the same. I got us going 12-5. I'm sorry. To be totally honest, the reason I do is because of let's go back to last year. All right, we got a rookie quarterback, and yeah, the schedule wasn't that hard, but we did see CJ pretty much own the division like later on, right? I know versus the Colts in the first game versus the Colts, it was little hiccups here and there, had the turnover with the fumble, but I felt like after that, like even he said it, after that Colts game, he was like, all right, like he started to be more confident in himself, and then the Steelers came and he tooed him up, and then so on and so on throughout the season, he kept building. Just seeing him grow throughout the season last year, and seeing the weapons that he had around him last year and how good he made Noah Brown look like Antonio Brown. Like literally, like nobody saw that coming from Noah Brown last year. And so like just the weapons we added around him. And I understand, yes, the schedule is harder. We playing better teams. We got the Ravens, we got the Chiefs, we got the Cowboys. We got a lot of tough teams, but at the same time, the reason I'm believing we going 12-5 is because of our quarterback and the weapons we got around him. Not only that, the defense got better. The only thing I will say about our defense that I want us to do is go get Marshawn Lattimore. That's another discussion. The reason I want to go get him because as far as the Okuda, Jeff, and what's his name?
CJ Henderson.
CJ, I don't know. Like, I feel like they great depth guys. And to say they great depth guys is kind of a crazy thing to kind of say because if they don't, some other teams, they most likely going to start. But to have them as our depth guys will make me feel even more comfortable than if we had Stingley and Marshawn Lattimore on the other side of Stingley. Like, that will make, like, me feel so confident and know that, hey, we good as far as when it comes to both our cornerbacks. And like I said, Jeff Okuda and CJ, they'll be great, depth guys, just in case, Stingley, sometimes, he gets beat up and he's not always healthy. So there'll be some good guys to step in. But yeah, I got us going 12-5. And the guys, the teams I see us taking the L's to is I think we do lose probably one game in the division, maybe two, just depending on the circumstance and somebody out of some division games is always the hardest games because you play them twice a year. So I do see us losing probably 2 games in the division, and then we play the do we play the Bills
Yeah, Bills in
division?
week 5.
Do we play their division or no?
No. Oh yeah,
No.
yeah.
No.
The division you do. You play New
Yeah,
England,
we
you
do.
play
Yeah,
the
Miami.
Jets, you play
We play the whole
So
AFC East.
I'm gonna be honest, and I hate to say this. I'm hoping we pull it through, but I kind of see us losing to. Sorry,
Not the Bills.
I think he's gonna say the Dolphins.
Yeah,
no.
maybe
I
2 and
don't see
2.
us losing to the Bills, but I see us losing to the Jets.
Oh, that's I can see that.
I see
That's
us losing to the
100%.
Jets because we're going there and no telling, if it might be raining like last year. It might be an ugly game that we might have to depend on Joe missing, and so
Thursday
that's the
night game
I see
too.
us losing.
So it's a short week.
So that too. So that's another team I see us losing to. Maybe the Ravens, but I think that'd be a close one. But like you said, Cole, I do see us beating Kansas City. I see that being a exciting game, but we pull it off. And
Kenneth, let me just ask you out of curiosity, because I get the Marshawn Lattimore love. I get the Bleacher Report guy, Alex K. Congratulations, you came up with a pretty article. Good job, I guess. I'm just going to ask you out of curiosity. You have one option. You can bring in Marshawn Lattimore. You let Nico Collins walk, and you also have to give up a 3rd-round pick. Do you do it? Because that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen, is you're going to let go of somebody in the process. You can't bring in a guy that's going to cost you $19 million on the salary cap. Money doesn't grow on trees. So you can go ahead and bring him in, but somebody's walking next offseason, and it's going to be a wide receiver. It's going to be Diggs. It's going to be Nico. It might be both. You okay with that?
I'm not okay with both, but I will be okay with one. And to be totally honest, I'm hoping Nico have a breakout year. Not breakout year because he had a breakout year last year, but I'm hoping he having another great season.
You won't have another one that the asking price goes up. I mean, that's the case, man.
Man, that's a tough. But to be totally honest, man, yes, I will let one of them go. Either if it's Diggs or Nico. I'm hoping, honestly, I want to lean towards Nico because he's younger. But at the same time, whatever happens. If we keep Diggs and Nico walks, it is what it is. But at the same time, I would rather have 2 wide receiver ones and 2 cornerback ones than have 3 wide receiver ones and 1 cornerback one, and then the other one is and you know what I'm saying? Like, don't get me wrong, we never know what Lassiter do, you know what I'm saying? But the reason you're right, I have to be realistic when it comes to Marshawn Lattimore because it's going to cost something. Something's going to have to give. But
it's not just salary cap too; it's also draft capital. That's the other part that people seem to forget about, because you're paying a premium to bring him in.
For sure.
Right. But he's no scrub. I mean, he's still top of his game.
Oh, without question, which is why the asking price is through the roof, and then the contract, and you got to take on the dead cap money that's going to come with it.
Yeah, I'd rather them just go get Howard. He on the street, here free agent. Just go kick those tires before you go get Lattimore.
Just bring back Steven Nelson.
Honestly, guys, I'm not gonna lie. Up until about a week ago, that was a probable plan that I think a lot of people would have been fine with. In a death roll, they would have maybe been okay with up until about last Friday, and then that went out the door as fast as his entire persona in this city.
Yeah.
Well, Bo, Kenneth said that he sees us getting beat by 1 or 2 division teams. What do you think? You think we sweep, or you think we split?
People don't like talking about history, but I think it's one of the things where division games are iffy. You never just be like, oh, we're gonna sweep everybody in the division. I think the Titans gonna be a sweep. I don't see us losing to the Titans not one time. Now, the Jaguars split. Colts always find a way to get us, so it's gonna split with them. So I say the 2 losses gonna be to the Jags and the Colts.
Harley, you agree with that situation?
So I had Joe DeLeon, which Cole Thompson knows very well. I had him on my YouTube channel. I asked him about the AFC South.
So sorry, Harley. I am.
I had him on my YouTube channel, and he talked about the AFC South. And the reason I bring it up is when I asked him about it, he said, when I asked him, what do you think? Titans, Jags, Colts, anybody gives us, he said Jags, Colts, Titans don't care. He said Titans don't scare him. I asked Sean Pendergast. Sean Pendergast says Titans don't move him. He said Calvin Ridley don't do much for him, and so
Don't do nothing for me.
and I don't reply much to it just because I both interviews were like very quick and they were short on time. But I keep looking at that Titan team and I'm going, it's really dependent on the quarterback situation, and you could say that for like the rest of the other teams as well in this division. But offensively, guys, I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, they just added, oh my goodness, wide receivers. There we go. My goodness, blanked on him. I mean, they just added all of those guys. The offensive line isn't the worst as it was last year. At least on paper, it looks better. Okay, we'll see whenever the field happens. I mean, it's not a bad team, especially, and I won't say a sweep just because you never know what happens with week 18. You never know what happens there. Even if, let's say optimistic, we're doing great things and week 18 doesn't even matter. Hey, that'd be awesome. And we rest some players and they get a win. Cool. But I just think the rivalry is so high right now. I think the Titans, I know the Titans and their owner want to beat the Houston Texans. Like, I don't think they care about the division. I think they care about beating the Houston Texans. Like, and it's a different mentality, but I respect it. I respect them going all in on Will Levis. Now, will it work out? I don't know. My opinion of Will Levis pre-draft wasn't very high of him. I really wasn't. But you can't say that they didn't improve drastically compared to last year.
Yeah, I agree with you. Amy Adams came out and said Vrabel got fired because he lost a game to Case Keenum, and in the order of uniforms. Cole, what's your thoughts on the division?
Titans win one game.
Oh,
Titans win one game. They sweep Jacksonville. They lose one game to the Titans. That's my thought.
What about
I'm sorry. Here's the entire point, like guys. They brought in Bill Callahan. They brought in Bill Callahan to run the offensive line. I don't care what their unit looked like last year. I don't care that J.C. Latham hasn't played on the left side of the offensive line. They brought in Bill freaking Callahan. That's the only thing I need to know about the offensive line. I love Pendergast. I know Sean is a good dude. I love Joe DeLeon. I talk college football with him all the time. We have so much fun making fun of each other. They need to be worried about the Titans this year. I'm not worried about Jacksonville. Why? They have the exact same offensive line as last year. What about Indianapolis? Okay, well, Indianapolis and Kenneth, I completely understand what you were saying earlier when it came to, well, that was when CJ turned it on. What does this team look like with Anthony Richardson for 17 games? What with the progression in Shane Steichen's offense does this team look like? And you also bring in Adonai Mitchell, who I was a lot higher on than other people. And you bring in Liatu Latu, who was my number one defensive player. And they also have everyone back on this defensive front. So I can get that game. But Tennessee with that offensive line, number one, also with what they bring in with wide receivers and the consistency of getting a guy that you trust across the middle of the field on third down, Tyler Boyd, who just played in Callahan's offense the last 2 years in Cincinnati. They're going to win a game. Like that, to me, that is the one I'm almost guaranteeing 100%. They will win one game against Houston this year.
I see them winning one game, but I think it's because what Harley says. I think it's the last game of the season. I think the Texans are in the playoffs.
Oh, it could,
and they rest. I think we win because it was what, week 7, right? Week 7, week 8 when we played.
I think it's week 13.
Tennessee's
the last one of the.
That's the Indy game. I'm thinking of the last time we played Indy is in the middle. Yeah, I think we beat them. I think we beat them at home. So, especially if we rock the H-Town blue, like we have to, we can't lose to the H-Town blue. So,
well, you got to remember that with the alternative uniforms, you get 3 games to do it. So the Bills game is the one where they're going to wear the H-Town blue. The Lions game is the one where they're going to debut the red, and so you get one more game. I mean, it would make sense.
Christmas.
It feels like, and that's the thing is like you have that blue on Christmas. Netflix is calling on in. They're gonna want to have. It makes sense, or they're gonna have the red for Christmas holidays. Like
Probably red, 'cause
it's one of
that
them.
dark might clash with the Ravens. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I just like to stick it to the Oilers, or I'm sorry, the Titans any way possible. Like, so if you can wear the H-Town blue, I'm cool with it, but I get it. But yeah, I just, here's the reason why. Like, everything you said, Cole, is 100%. I agree with you. Callahan, to me, is the greatest offensive line coach ever step on the field. But what turns me down about the Titans is Will Levis. And yes, I know he didn't have a lot of time to throw. He was banged up because he had no offensive line. But it's always that thing. You got to prove it to me. I haven't seen enough to be proven yet. Now, if he comes in 7 games and just throws 302 touchdowns almost every game, okay, then I'm wrong. Like I'll be happily admit that I was wrong. But until then, I just don't. Just the sample size I see, I don't see it happening. But again, I've been wrong. I'll be the first one to admit it.
I'm not down you. I'm not. I mean, the best way that I could put Will Levis is I never liked him coming out when he transferred to Kentucky. I thought that he was a flash in the pan the 1 year with Liam Cohen. And then you see the regression that year. You know, that whole conversation that there was going to be talks of him going number 1, immediate laughter, immediate chuckling, immediately just could not buy into it. The thing I will say is I do like him learning underneath Brian Callahan. And Callahan, whether or not you believe was a major factor with Zach Taylor during Cincinnati when they were getting Joe Burrow developed, there still is the factor of what a Sean McVay style offense does for quarterbacks and how it is very codependently friendly, what you have in the wide receivers. And I think a very underrated addition, whether or not I believe he's a cornerback 1, was like adding in L'Jarius Sneed. You know, they are going to be able to take away one of the wide receivers, even though you paid an egregious amount to bring him on in. Whether or not I agree with it being the right move in terms of what you have, you also brought in Chidobe Awuzie, who understands the defensive formality of what was ran in Cincinnati underneath Brian Callahan. They have one of the best nickel defenders that doesn't get talked about enough in Roger McCreary. You know, they've added in some players like Tennessee. It's so they to me are what I would call a coin flip team, where they are going to be 2 or 3 plays in every game, and if the coin lands on heads, they're walking away with a win. If it lands on tails, they're walking away with a loss. And it's all depending on Will Levis. I think at the offensive style, what you have fits Tony Pollard extremely well in the backfield. I think at the tight end play with Chigaronkwo is going to be really beneficial. They're not a bad team on paper. Like there's so much unknown, but they're not a bad team. Like Houston, there's a lot of known. There's a lot of we see what this team can be. Where Tennessee, it's a little bit different. It's a lot of if this goes this way, if this goes this way, if this goes this way, maybe they are in the hunt for the division. But if this goes this way, this goes this way, this goes this way, they're going to be picking for a quarterback in a very lackluster quarterback class. Like so many people were complaining about Bo Nix going in the top 12. It was a horrendous pick for based off of what the actual need is. But you look at next year's draft class. I don't care what you want to say about any one of these kids in college. They're great. They are fantastic. There is a reason they are called college quarterbacks and not NFL prospects. Just remember that. There's a reason for that.
Okay. Well, guys, before we wrap it up, this is the season outlook, so we'll get everybody's thoughts on the season outlook. Harley, I'll talk to you. I ask you first. What's your outlook of this season? AFC
just what record-wise, or
the outlook period at the end of the season, where you see the Texans?
I mean, I had them in the record prediction about 12-5. I could see it 11-6. I could see either way. Overall, the Houston Texans, again, I think they suited up for what is a very tough schedule. Adding Stephon Diggs and having arguably the best trio of wide receivers in the NFL. Hey, it's pretty healthy to have, along with CJ Stroud. You added Joe Mixon. So the offense, defense, I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun watching football again here in Houston. It's going to be a lot of fun. And Cole said, man, there's a lot of knowns. You know what you're going to get out of Stephon Diggs, and you know what you're going to get out of D'Amico Ryan's kind of defense. You expect some good stuff coming out of it with a Daniel Hunter added, Danico Autry. Is there some question marks? Sure. The secondary, yeah, it could be better, but who knows? Like I remember the San Francisco 49ers grabbing some guys that people are going, why they grab Jason Verrett for? And then Jason Verrett went to the 49ers and played pretty damn good for them for however long it was. He played
4
pretty
games
darn
for
good.
torn ACL for the 5th time in his career.
Hey, it is what it is, but he played pretty good for them in the time being. And, to expand that into Jeff Okudah and a CJ Henderson argument, I don't know. It's a little unfair there, but hey, I like to see what D'Amico Ryans can do with Jeff Okudah / CJ Henderson. I mean, I also look at the 49ers, and I know Richard Sherman, isn't comparable to those guys, to the Texans backups, but Richard Sherman at the time when signing for the 49ers, I mean, a lot of people thought his career was done, and he went to the Niners and kind of had like a second win to his career. So, that's what I'm kind of hoping for with Okudah and Henderson. Maybe not to that level, but hey, you give me suitable cornerback to play. I mean, we saw Kadar Homan randomly come on the field in a short stint. He wasn't even known he was going to play until the little hour before the game. Went out there and had a pretty decent day. I mean, there wasn't any big plays that I could think of right off, the top of my head against them. So I have some confidence with the secondary, regardless of overreactions of a day one OTA. And so, the Houston Texans overall, I'm fine with them, man. I think they're going to still win this division. I think the Colts are going to be pretty competitive with you. I think the Titans could shock some teams. I'm not very high on the Jaguars. I'm just not. Trevor Lawrence doesn't, unless him and Doug Peterson take another step, I just don't see what else they did this year to really give me that sort of confidence. I thought they were going to go get a Brandon Ayuk. There was a lot of rumors swirling around that. Didn't happen. And so I'm kind of like, okay, I look at the wide receivers and going, all right, we saw some of this 2 years ago, but that schedule was a lot worse than what their schedule looks like right now. I'm not saying their schedule is, hard, but it's, for the Jaguars, Doug Peterson, I really wasn't moved with whenever they hired him. I don't know. At the end of the day, the Houston Texans should be able to do their thing. 11-6, 12-5. It doesn't really matter what the record is. I know someone said on here, 10-7 is bad. 12-5 is what should be expected. I don't care. Go 10-7. But if you go to the AFC Championship game or you go to a damn Super Bowl, have the expectations, not been met then? I don't care. Hell, the Tennessee Titans a few years ago did not win the division and made it all the way to the AFC Championship game. So, if the Texans do something similar, hey, I'm super happy. It's what you do in the playoffs. That's what matters.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought it up, that OTAs. Yeah, guys, pump the brakes, okay, about Jeff Okudah and CJ Henderson. There's no pass. There's no pass rush. There's nothing, guys. It's just drills. Calm down. They're getting their bodies in shape. Like, don't hit the panic button yet, guys. Okay.
Real fast for next person goes. Also with John Mechie, if you think that anybody is making that catch, you go out there and do it. You go out there and do it, and then go ahead.
He literally made the same catch against the Browns in the playoffs.
I say, you're allowed to drop a pass in OTAs. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world.
I'd rather them drop a pass in OTAs than the game. Okay.
Yeah.
So I take that all day. So yeah. Pump your brakes there, folks.
They call it Mechie a bum and all that, man.
Pump
crazy.
Pump
It's
it's
crazy.
crazy. Bo, what you got, brother?
I agree with Harley at the end what he said, where of course you want your team to go have an amazing record. You want to be able to brag about your team throughout the season and win every game. But if you make it to the playoffs, just make it to the playoffs. My outlook is for you to make it to the playoffs, be as healthy as you can be, because we know we get bit by the injury bug a lot. I don't know what it is about the Texans, but as soon as you get the train rolling, a wheel pop off, the track get off. So just get to the playoffs healthy, and then we go from there. That's all I want to see. Whether it's 9-8, 10-7, 11-6, get to the playoffs and go crazy. So that's my outlook.
Okay. Kenneth, what
Real
about
quick.
you? Go ahead.
Real quick. For just to be a jealous, like just to be a fan for a moment. I mean, and I know I said what I just said. Damn, man. I would just love some home field advantage. I mean, I would love that. I haven't seen the Texans really lose too many games at home when they're in the playoffs. I would like to see some home field advantage. Don't y'all want to be at an AFC championship game at NRG with the stadium rocking? It's energetic, it's loud, you could feel it, you get the goosebumps already as I'm talking. Like, come on, that would just be electric.
100% Harley, but my reason is more so because I don't want to pay the money to go travel for work. That's my reason. It's very selfish, but it is.
You're not swarming, Cole. You got to be swarming, man.
Kenneth, what about you, brother?
Like I said, as far as the record, I think 12-5. But yeah, I honestly, man, like Harley, both saying, man, just make it to the playoffs. But at the same time, like Harley said, man, I do want home field advantage. And if we can get that number 1 seed, like that would be awesome. But I mean, at the end of the day, that would be the best things for us because we ain't got to worry about going to KC in the cold, or we ain't got to worry about going to the Baltimore in the cold, whatever it got going on over there, snowing, whatever. Like, it would be great to have the number 1 seed. But at the same time, man, just make it to the playoffs. I think we're going to make noise in the playoffs. And honestly, I think the more games we play throughout the season, the team is going to continue to build. And I'm telling y'all, I've never been this. The last time I was excited for the season this is going to sound dumb, but when we signed Tyrann Mathieu back in 2017, I believe, 18, I was so excited because I'm a big fan of Tyrann Mathieu. So when that happened, I was so excited and couldn't wait for the season. But it's like this all season, I don't know, man. It's like I feel like I'm finna suit up and go play with them. Like, that's how excited I am as a fan. And it's like, I can't wait. I really, really, really can't wait. And one thing I want to bring up, just to tap into it real quick, Cole, I believe you said something about Anthony. I want to ask y'all real quick. Do y'all believe that I'm going to ask you like this. Do y'all believe he's going to pick up where he left off?
Yes. Yes,
so?
100%.
Why do you think that?
Shane Steichen. That's why.
Yeah.
I literally said on multiple podcasts, I went on throughout draft season saying that there was one team that I thought Anthony Richardson needed to go to if you want to see him actually get to his full potential. It was the team that Shane Steichen was going to get picked up by as a head coach. He went to Indianapolis. That's why. It is literally, in my opinion, when you have that arm strength, when you have the accuracy that is possible, when you have that mobility like Jalen Hurts, and you get a quarterback coach that was able to work with Justin Herbert and Jalen, and you're able to get a player that has a little bit of both in there, yes, absolutely. I think he's going to pick it up. They did bring in Adonai Mitchell, which, again, I was a lot higher on the most. I thought he was a top 15 player in this year's draft. I love this tape. I loved everything about it. I love Josh Downs. I love Michael Pittman Jr. I love that run game. It's hard for me to say no. It's so hard for me to say no.
I say yes, but it does take a game or two for him to knock the rust off and get back to where he was. But I do say if he stays healthy, he is going to be a huge threat to the Texans in the division title. Just like Cole said, Shane Steichen is offensive guru, and it scares me that we got to see him twice a year. My outlook, I say we go 11-6, 12-5, but I see CJ Stroud winning the MVP. Look what he did with when Tank Down went down with injuries, and you had Nico Collins, Noah Brown battling injuries. Look what he did. He was still able to produce. This guy now has multiple weapons. We've been talking about the whole episode. He has Joe Mixon, Dalton Schultz came back, Cade Stover, Stephon Diggs. Like, this guy has the weapons. Now, if they stay healthy, I think it's going to be not easy, but I think it's going to be a goal to attain. So yes, I see CJ Stroud winning the MVP, and I see us losing the AFC Championship. I hate to say it, but
I respect it.
you know.
I respect it.
Go ahead, Cole. What you got?
All right, real fast. Brandon Hallman, here's the deal, buddy. If you want to talk about stat lines, I'm telling you right now, stats lie all the time. That a lot of people lie all the time. Let me make this abundantly clear. Highlights are important. So is consistency. You saw 4 games of Anthony Richardson. Imagine it was 17. So go ahead and shove that away. Did I say accuracy? Yes, I did say accuracy. Go ahead and watch him when he was in college. Go ahead and watch him when he was playing with a bunch of other players back in his time at the very start of the year. Yeah, he's got accuracy problems. He also has a lot of highlights and a lot of high upside. So Anthony Richardson's going to be a problem for the next decade so long as they're able to have it. Here's the bottom line. What would you rather have? Would you rather have a 13-4 record and still the 22nd ranked run offense? Would you rather have a 13-4 record and not be able to see consistency in the passing game and it be the same numbers as last year? Would you rather have a 13-4 record, but your defense is not able to get off the field and you're winning in shootout fashion? So is that really what you want? Or do you want to have a rushing attack that can rank inside the top 10? Do you want to have a passing attack that can rank inside the top 10? Do you want to have a pass rush that can be top 15? Do you want to have a third down defense that's able to get off the field? And instead you finish 11-6. I will always take better numbers with more consistency. That way I feel more battle tested. That way I feel more able. That way I feel more reliant that I can win in so many different efforts on different locations, regardless of home field advantage of anything than be 13-4 and an early exit in the playoffs. Because if it means nothing, it means absolutely nothing if all you're doing is getting to the next round and immediately eliminated because you can only win one way, because you can only do things one way. It's great that you're able to have an overall balanced offense that's going to be able to, I think, be a lot more potent in the run game, with a more stable offensive line, with more weapons that you can rely on, with a better defensive formalities, especially with another year in the system. Yeah, there's going to be question marks, but also, what happens if Kamari Laster ends up being a great outside corner and Desmond King ends up winning in the nickel? Or what happens if eventually they decide to move Jimmy Ward back down the nickel because Kalen Bullock is phenomenal over the top? And then that gives you a lot more versatility. I'd much rather that. Anybody who's saying, oh, well, 12-5 is not the record. If we don't have a 12-5 record, then that's going to be a problem. Guys, you would rather be 9-8 with a top 10 offense in every single statistic and a great red zone offense and lose games by game-winning field goals and have the margin of error be one play than be 13-4 and still have the same mistakes that cost you a spot in the AFC Championship game a year ago. I don't think CJ Stroud wins the MVP. I don't think the Texans win the Super Bowl this year. But I do think that I agree with you. If they play up to the standard of what they can, Houston should be in the AFC Championship game. They should be able to go toe-to-toe with the Patrick Mahomes. They should be able to go toe-to-toe with the team like Baltimore once again. I'm telling you, when you look at this roster, the expectation, regardless of record, is to get to the next stage. But at the end of the day, you still have Patrick Mahomes in this conference. And until somebody is able to consistently break him down, and I mean consistently, like even Joe Burrow, it was a great record. Like it was a great run in 2021. He did it one time. You may only get one shot, but if you get one shot and you still can't get past it, it's because he's inevitable. Until you see someone actually do it, it's hard to pick against Kansas City. But I do think Houston does go to the AFC Championship game.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, guys, our brother that's not here, in the wise words of Crenshaw, this is the worst part because it's the end. Cole, tell us where we can find you on social media and what you got cooking. That way we can support you.
So I do work for Texans Wire. We're there every single day, going to OTAs, going to training camp. We're inside the stadium. We're getting as much access as possible. TexansWire.com. I'm the managing editor. I'm also on YouTube if you want to follow me at Mr. Cole Thompson. I mostly talk college football over there, but every once in a blue moon I'll throw in Texans. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Mr. Cole Thompson. So the exact same as my YouTube handle, the exact same here at Mr. Cole Thompson. Just go ahead and give me a follow.
And we appreciate you coming on, man. Harley, tell us what you got cooking. That way we can support you, brother.
You can find me at @TheLead_HOU anywhere on social media as well as YouTube. We're on the road to 10,000 subscribers. It is a new goal. We just passed 8,000 subscribers. So again, super appreciative everybody that has liked, commented, subscribed. So go ahead. Y'all watching. If you still are, you're a trooper. Go ahead and like the video, like the live, man. Smash that like button. Easy to smash your life. Comment down below how y'all feel and how much y'all hate Cole Thompson's take that the Texans aren't going to the Super Bowl. Screw it.
Love it.
H-Town
Come on,
versus
bring it.
everyone. H-Town versus everyone, baby. Let's go shock the world. How about that?
H-Town till we drown. Mr. Bo Diggity, what about you, brother?
Follow me on all socials at BoDiggity713. You know where the videos at: TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. Y'all have we going up, man.
And Kendall, where we find you at, brother?
Y'all can follow me on YouTube and Instagram at Kenneth the Messenger, and on Twitter Messenger_Keno. And yeah, man, just cooking up a few little things with my music and stuff like that and community work. So I'll be definitely pushing more stuff out there to y'all.
And guys, like I said, Crenshaw couldn't make it today, so make sure you follow him at Fifth Ward Crenshaw everywhere. Me, you can find A1 Day One Texans. We are at a goal. We're trying to get 5,000 till before the season starts. We're at 2.5. So like Harley says, hit that subscribe button. It's free. Don't cost you anything. It's Texan fan about everywhere. Until then, guys, have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next week. Have a good night.
Yo, check it out, we rapping for the Texas. Put it in, Crenshaw Bridge, we flex.